We're broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios.
Visit MTE.com.
Middle Tennessee Electric, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is a WGNS Action Line. Talking with Rutherford County newsmakers
since 1947.
This is a WGNS Action Line. Now, your host, Scott Walker.
With us today in studio, we have got Executive Director Terri Deal of Adams Place right here in Murfreesboro on Memorial Boulevard. And what's new this morning?
Well, Scott, I don't know about you, but I am thoroughly enjoying this beautiful spring-like weather, and that just has all things hopping at Adams Place.
Yeah, I love this time of year. You know, it's not too hot, not too cold. It's just perfect.
Yeah, it is, and we've had so many years in recent years, so many springs in recent years where felt like we jumped from winter straight into summer, but this year we are enjoying a really nice spring.
Definitely so. And, you know, when you have days like this where the weather does feel this good, do you have a lot of residents who get out and about and do things?
Oh, gracious, yes. They love it when the weather starts turning nice. Everybody that spends the winter walking the halls for their exercise, they're all outside soaking up the sunshine. I've got folks that'll just go sit in the courtyard. They may have their lunch or dinner in the courtyard to enjoy the fresh air, or I'll look out my window and just see them sitting in the front yard by the fountain, just enjoying the sounds of the fountain and the birds chirping and the sun shining.
And by the way, for those listening, if you have any questions about Adams Place, or maybe you're thinking about going to and exploring the idea of senior living in a community like Adams Place, call in. Well, actually, we're going to take text this morning. Text in any type of question you have. And also, I guess, well, first of all, do a lot of children, grandchildren even, do they help that parent, that aunt, that uncle kind of make that decision or make that move to say, hey, I want independent living at Adams Place or elsewhere? What goes into that?
Yeah, they do. You know, so it depends on which portion of campus somebody is going to as to which family members are involved. But on the independent living side, I see not only the individuals themselves that are interested in moving in, but sometimes their kids or their grandkids will maybe do some of the early research for them to kind of narrow down places that they want to tour.
Kind of like the legwork there.
Exactly.
And when you have those family members reach out to you and they're asking, hey, my mom's this year's old, and she's thinking about selling her house and going this route. What kind of questions do they ask right off the bat?
So, obviously one of the first things that anybody's going to ask is, can I afford this?
Yeah.
And, one of the interesting things to me is the affordability of all of these types of properties. When you start comparing what you're paying to live where you're living now and then compare it to what the costs are at a place like Adams Place, it is remarkably similar. So that's one of the first things. Everybody, not only the potential resident, but the kids themselves, they want to know that mom or dad is going to be able to engage in different activities. They may have specific activities that they're interested in. They may have, some of the potential residents themselves, they may be looking for new opportunities. It's always really interesting that the kids remember mom doing maybe crocheting 50 years ago, or she used to love to paint, or she always enjoyed lecturing. And then you talk to mom and she's like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Now I want to do this, So there's just always a lot of opportunity for them to be able to pick and choose what they do. So activities, socialization opportunities, transportation, how am I going to fit into this community? I live by myself now. I've lived alone for 10 years, and now you want me to have how many neighbors?
Yeah.
So those are some of the types of questions that get asked.
And I can envision whenever you do have, let's say it's a family with like, 3 or 4 kids, and it's those kids who are talking to mom or dad about this idea of moving somewhere like Adams Place. I can see where maybe one of the 3 may not agree with the idea.
Right.
And I could see them being the ones who raise the majority of the questions,
Sometimes, a lot of times people look at it as mom is going to move to a campus like Adams Place, and she's giving up the independence of being in her home. And what everyone needs to understand, especially those adult children, is you're not taking, or mom is not giving up her independence. Mom or dad are stepping into a place where they can give up some of the responsibilities of home ownership so that they can be more independent and truly enjoy living.
And I'm sure this factors in on, some of those who are thinking of this idea, or maybe some who are living there now. But you've always got that one child who says, I don't want my parents to sell the home I grew up in.
Right.
And that I can see where that could be tough.
Yeah, it can be tough. But in reality, and I say this as the adult child, we've got to let go and let mom and dad live their lives, because it is hard, because that, when the adult child is talking about those things, it puts pressure on the parent who really wants to go ahead and make a move, but now they feel guilty giving up that childhood home, and where are my kids going to go for Christmas? And the memories go with you. The house is a house. I know it's a home, but you're going to recreate a new home in a new setting. And
I hate that happens, because it does, just saying it out loud, it sounds like such a selfish statement to say, I don't want my parents to sell that house. I grew up in it. But if you take a look at the overall picture, you got to remember all the years of not only housekeeping, but lawn mowing, and how many roofs were changed over the years. And,
Well, I was driving in this morning just looking at all of the trees that came down in that storm that passed through last night, and how many people woke up and looked out their windows this morning and thought, well, now there's something else that I have to do. And when you're 80, 85 years old, even in your 70s, I mean, gracious, I'm 61, and I have not enjoyed any of the trees that have come down on my house in recent years. So, the older we get, we just don't want to have to contend with that anymore. It's always really interesting. In the fall, I have a lot of interest. The potential resident themselves, mom and dad, they come in, they're like, I have raked the last leaf I ever intend to rake. You really have to look at that. And it's not that our parents are not capable of doing that work anymore. They just don't want to do that work anymore.
At my age, as an example, I thought about, I've had friends who have bought like summer vacation type houses, they rent them out when they're not using them, stuff like that in Florida. And I look deeper into it, and I say to myself, I don't want the headache of having to upkeep this house, right? Beyond the fact that it's, 800 miles away or whatever it is.
And I'm going to get to go to it twice a year.
But I don't want that headache of having to upkeep that house, make sure, all taxes are paid, insurance is paid, making the calls. If a roof needs to be replaced, I got to find a roofer, to come out and give an estimate, and I have to, of course, travel there for it. But these are the things that people, it's easy for them to understand when you look at like the idea of a vacation house. I mean, for those who are younger, look at that idea and just imagine all the costs that go into that. You know, if you're thinking about talking to mom or talking mom out of whatever your motive is, there are a lot of costs that go into home ownership. And locally, you've got property taxes, you've got insurance and property taxes. They're going up every year. Yeah. So, I mean, overall, there are a heck of a lot of costs involved in home ownership. There really are, and they're only getting higher and higher, as you said. And I think that you have really struck a very important chord, and that is the perspective or the selfishness that the adult children have. And, unfortunately, both of my parents are gone. So I don't have the opportunity to be able to help them walk through this phase of life. But, I would like to think that if they were still here, I would want what is best for them. And what is best for them may not be my definition of best for. So I would really hope that I would be able to sit back and listen to them and hear from their perspective what is best for them. Yeah, and I get it. My kids are all adults now, and First of all, I don't want them telling me where to move, but
Yeah. No, that's exactly right.
It's it's my life. It's my
Yep.
direction. These are my bills to pay.
Yeah.
But on top of all of that, I even see myself where I get tired of doing stuff like mowing the yard and
Right.
making sure the trees look okay and are pruned or whatever the case is. These get to be irritating responsibilities as we get older, and
Right.
we don't have any kids living at home to help us with these things, these
Right.
chores. And you start hiring out. I'm going to hire this person to mow the yard each week, and then you realize, man, now the cost to pay somebody to mow a yard is $100 each time because
Right.
gas prices are high and so forth. And that's where the costs really start to do increase. I mean, and then, like I said, the whole fact that you're maintaining this house, and at some point it's going to start to feel like, especially if you retire, it's going to feel like this home owns and runs you
Exactly.
more so than the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're always having to fix something or do something, and like you said, as you start hiring things out, and that's where the cost comparison becomes really important, because a lot of times we don't think, and I think this is another issue from the adult child perspective, we don't realize just how much mom and dad are paying for housekeeping, for lawn maintenance, to get that roof replaced, all the little things. Woke up this morning and got to get the tree cut down, or
Yeah.
just get the limbs picked up out of the yard. Again, not that they can't do it, but they might rather spend their day doing something else, maybe a little bit less physical. And so when we start adding all of those costs up, having a home security system, having the life alert system, all of the things, maybe I can't drive anymore, or I don't feel safe driving anymore. So now I'm going to call Uber every time I want to go somewhere. So you start looking at all of those expenses and comparing it to all of the amenities that are included at Adams Place and other communities, and you start realizing that the value truly is there.
And again, our number 615-893-1450. So if you have any questions, feel free to text those in. And we did have one question this morning, and it was asking, whenever somebody does move into Adams Place, who is covering, ultimately, I'm sure it's the person who is moving in, but who covers the cost each month of paying the bill for electricity? And is that resident, are they the ones making a check out to Middle Tennessee Electric,
No.
or how does that work?
Nope, that is on Adams Place. So you use it, we pay for it. The challenge that we have, I've got some residents that want every light in the building turned off. I've got other residents that want to run their air conditioner on high with the balcony door standing open.
Sounds about right.
So, it all balances out in the end. But at the end of the day, when the bill comes due, that is written by Adams Place.
That makes it easier too. And, these are also things that I think people don't think about. Kids don't think about their parents having to worry about. Right. And that is making sure that each and every utility bill is paid on time each month.
Exactly right. Yeah, and we pay the water, we pay the electric, we pay the gas, we take care of all it. We pay internet, we pay cable.
Yeah.
So it is all included. Yes, ultimately the resident pays it because it's all built into their monthly expense. But I've got kids that live in apartments in Knoxville, and their water bill changes, or their rent rather changes every month because their water bill is incorporated into it. That's not the way we operate. We've got everything all built in, and if you use a little bit this month and a whole lot next month, it's going to balance out.
And this gets back to what I was saying is you don't want to start to feel like your house is directing your life as opposed to you directing your life. And it is so easy these days to miss one of those bills that comes in.
Sure.
And it may go to the wrong address, but you don't realize that.
Yeah.
And if you don't see the bill in front of you, then obviously you don't write a check for it.
Exactly.
I'm not thinking at the end of the month, did I pay the electric bill? Unless the lights are off,
Right.
But I'm not thinking about that unless I have that bill in front of me. But these are all responsibilities that aging homeowners have to keep up with. And that can get confusing easy and quickly.
Yeah, it can. And just very overwhelming. And, you stop and think when the kids want their parent to be able to still enjoy doing whatever, volunteering or playing mahjong or bridge or going to musical events or whatever, that's great to want them to be able to do that. But if they're spending all of their time taking care of their house and their yard, they're worn out by the end of the day doing all the manual labor, and they're just not interested in doing anything anymore.
Yeah, I get it. And then, also a lot of bills these days, for other stuff out there, whatever it is you're being billed for, comes online through email.
Yeah, and I hate that. But,
too.
there are so many scams out there. And I got a text message just the other day about a bill. I know that it's a medical bill that I owe, but I'm not going to click on a link in my text message and pay it because I don't know that's really from them. I waited until I got a paper statement. So,
sure.
Residents do, unfortunately, just like everybody, they fall victim to scams. And so it's really hard. You get this email, and we have residents come to us all the time. It's like, Terri, please look at this and tell me if this is legitimate. And I'm like, nope, that's not. You need to delete that.
Yeah.
So it's just too easy to click on a link somewhere, and then everything you have is gone.
Yeah. And for those who like to travel, because you got a lot of residents there who love traveling.
Oh, yes.
But for those who like to travel, to be able to leave town, go somewhere nice and relax and enjoy yourself, it's hard to do when you own your own home because you're worried about it.
Yeah, it is. What happens if the pipe ruptures or a storm comes through and a tree blows down on my house or whatever? And, yes, we do have residents that travel, a few days here, a few days there, a month or two at a time. I've got folks that take 30 and 45-day cruises.
Nice.
So they are still traveling the world, and they come to the front. They're like, I'm going to be gone for X amount of time. We ask that they leave their keys to the car just in case there's some reason that we have to move the car. They lock the door and they're gone, and they don't give it another minute's thought. If there's any kind of incidents while they're gone, we take care of it and get everything cleaned up before they get back home.
For those who are listening this morning, if you're a child and your parents are thinking about moving somewhere like this, I don't know how you couldn't hear these pros, and I'm sure everybody has a con or two, but I don't know how you couldn't hear this and then just stop to think, do I want this for my parents? Do I want this to where they don't have to have that worry every time they go to, maybe it's just Chattanooga for the weekend,
right? But
you don't want them to have to worry all the time.
Yeah, no, you really don't. And one of the things that I enjoy, you were asking about whether it's the kids or the parents that are doing the leg work. I've got folks, I've got local children that do the leg work for parents that are moving in from out of town and that sort of thing. And a lot of times they're moving closer, obviously, to be with their kids and their grandkids. And again, by getting out of the responsibilities of taking care of the home, then they're not too tired to go to Junior's ball game or, Sally's dance recital or whatever it is that they're wanting to go to, so that they can really be invested in their family when they're here.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're talking with Terri Deal with Adams Place, and one of the questions we got just now, how do you typically advise families to start the conversation with a parent who may be who may be resistant to leaving their home?
So that's a really great question, and it is challenging depending on family dynamics. But if you've got a relationship where you can just sit down and say, I know that you may not be interested in doing this, but why don't we at least go take a look so that you can see what is available to you? So, sometimes, especially with, I would say probably 85 and up, all they ever saw for their parents and grandparents were old school nursing homes. And so sometimes it's just getting someone to cross the threshold and see, wait a minute, this is very lively. I'm not going to be sitting in a hall with nothing to do. I'm going to be more active than I've been in a long time. So I think it's just opening the conversation and asking them, can you just give it a chance and let's go sit down and talk to Terri or Steve or whoever it is?
Another question we had here, it says, I was younger when this occurred, but I remember when my grandparents moved into an assisted living facility and they sold their house and it went into some type of escrow or trust, and the funds to pay the monthly expense for their living arrangement at the assisted living home, I assume, went into some type of trust, and the money was drawn out of that account each month. Is that what can be done? Or I guess they're asking, can that be done at somewhere like Adam's Place? And I'm not real sure. I don't know about programs like this, so you have to tell me.
So if I'm understanding the question right, if I sell my house and I clear $400,000 or $500,000 and I want to put that into a trust, then yes, you can then establish an automatic withdrawal from that account to pay the bill. Now, if we're talking, is it some type of a benevolence fund or governmental type assistance or something like that? I am not familiar with those kinds of programs. Typically, independent living, at least across the board, is going to be a private pay industry. So wherever the funds are coming from, I've got a lot of residents who have their payments each month drafted from investment accounts. So if you consider a trust that type of an account, as long as it's set up legally in such a way that we can draft from it, then it shouldn't be a problem. But that would certainly be a conversation we would want to have on the front end.
Yeah, and that sounds kind of like, going back to that whole thing of making sure your parents don't have to worry about paying the utility bills each month and all that stuff. It sounds like the same type of thing. Maybe they have their retirement fund set up in, one account with the bank. And then I guess it sounded like what they're asking is, if I sell the house, then can we take that money that we make on the house and put that into a separate account and just have that monthly payment for Adam's Place just to be drafted out of that account, so the parents don't have to worry about it?
So that they don't have to worry about it. I've got different scenarios. I've got a lot of my residents have their financial advisors to transfer funds from, say, an investment account or maybe a trust account into a traditional checking account that we then draft. We've got some folks that their investment accounts will send payment directly to us, so it can be set up a number of ways.
And for those listening out there, what we're talking about, what that listener brought up, these types of things are safe. They occur all the time. But I'm sure you probably get questions, I don't want Adam's Place to have all their money from the house they just sold.
Right. We don't either. We don't want it all.
You're not doing that. I mean, we're talking about a regular transaction, just as if you drafted your electric bill off, out of your account at the end of the month.
Correct. Yeah, we're not asking anybody, and I don't know of any properties in Tennessee, or at least in Middle Tennessee, that ask you to sign over your house to Adam's Place.
No.
We don't want that. For one, that's not the business we're in. We're in the business of caring for people, not people's money. So, you set your finances up in whatever way makes most sense for you. And then whether you want to physically write us a check each month for your monthly expense, or you want us to draft it from some type of an account, that either one is okay with us.
And for anybody making this major life move, this, life investment, if you would, I understand there's lots of hesitations out there. There's lots of questions they're going to have.
Oh, absolutely.
So it makes sense to ask all those questions because, it could be a bit scary making this move.
Yeah, it is. And I encourage anybody to ask as many questions as they possibly can. When I'm meeting with people, it's like, yes, bring your kids with you because they're going to have questions. They're looking at things from a different perspective. So bring everybody with you. I've got a family that's getting ready to move from Clearwater, Florida, and they wanted to understand the financial piece a little bit better, so they asked if I would talk to their financial advisor. I was like, of course I will. So I spent, probably 30 or 45 minutes on the phone with him, helping him understand what our financial options were, and then he went back and advised his clients on which option they should choose. So, I do those types of things all the time, but I want to make sure that we've got everybody's questions answered. One of the great things that we do is we have an ambassador program, and I invite every potential resident to come back after they've met with me, and sometimes even before they've met with me, come back and have lunch or dinner with one of our ambassadors, which are our residents who have been there, done that kind of thing, and ask them questions. And I'm like, bring your kids, let them ask questions of our ambassadors as well. And that really goes a long way in helping everybody to understand what's going on.
These are all great things to talk about, because we're all going to age and we're all going to, want to downsize more than likely at some point or another. And those who are in their, 40s, 50s, these are things that they can kind of start thinking about ahead of time, and that will probably help them out. But, you just brought up somebody's banker or investor. They called you to talk about, how do we make this arrangement? This, again, brings up a whole nother side of things, and it's good to start developing these relationships with having somebody to invest money with way ahead of time, way before you're ready to retire, of course.
Yeah.
But it's good to have trusted people on your side to ask these extra questions.
Right. Yeah, because the financial advisor is going to ask different questions than you're going to ask.
Yeah, and they're probably smarter, at least in my case, they'd be smarter than me, and that helps.
Well, they can definitely, somebody asked me not long ago, they asked me to project how their finances were going to hold them for the next 20 years. I said, I can't do that.
Yeah, no telling.
That you need to take that to your financial advisor, because your financial advisor has a full picture of your retirement income, your investments, if you have a long-term care policy, how that's going to play into it. So there, whether you take that look yourself or whether you have a trusted advisor that looks at it with you, I will only go so far in directing you financially. I'm going to help you understand what all of the costs are going to be, what the anticipated increases are going to be over your lifetime, and that sort of thing. That's where I'm going to draw the line, because I don't want to be, I don't want anybody to ever be able to say, well, Terri told me that I needed to do X. No, I'm going to give you the details, and then you're going to work it out with your trusted partners to make those decisions for you.
It's important to say, you're not a used car salesman trying to fit somebody into the right monthly price.
That is exactly right.
This is a sophisticated thing that somebody is doing if they're making the decision to make a move to somewhere like Adam's Place.
Yeah. All I can do is I can give you the details, and you're going to have to work it out privately to figure out whether it meets your needs, not necessarily whether it meets your finances, because, typically somebody that's going to be looking at Adam's Place or any other community, in most cases, they've made financial preparations for aging. And all I can do is tell you this is what it's going to cost. Yeah. And, there's not, people ask all the time, well, what are the hidden fees? There are no hidden fees at Adam's Place. I'm going to tell you every dime you're going to be spending so that there are no surprises, because I don't like surprises. I like to know I've got this much money coming in and this much money going out, and I don't want anybody sneaking in for extra. So I'm going to make sure you know what the expenses are going to be before you ever sign on the dotted line.
Yeah, this isn't like a timeshare.
No.
Do you remember, I think it was in the 90s where timeshare companies out there, they were literally all the time we'd get mail asking us to come here, go there, and hey, this is free. We're going to give
you a free vacation. All you have to do is sit through a 6-hour meeting.
Man. I remember, and when you're in your 20s and 30s and you got little kids, you're like, oh, this is awesome, it's free, and
sounds great.
But then when you get there, they have this large spiel that goes on and on.
And they are
I'm like,
such high pressure sales.
I remember years ago, my wife was like, let's do it. Nah, let's not, thank goodness we didn't.
Yeah. I remember the day years ago, I had been working in senior living for, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years. And I woke up one morning and realized that my daily job involves sales. And I was like, but I don't want to be a salesman.
Yeah.
So, I started looking at it differently. And while sales is part of what I do, I'm more about relationship building. And if at the end of the day it fits your needs, then we're going to call it a sale.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to high pressure you. I'm going to give you the information. We have a wait list, so I can't even try to pressure you into taking the next available apartment, because that's not going to be for 12 to 18 months.
Let's get to another question, and then after that, we'll take a quick break, but this one asks, how important is social interaction and community engagement for seniors, and how do you foster that? And I'll go ahead and combine this next question into it too. It's asking, how do you handle residents who may feel isolated or struggle to adjust after moving in? Because all this kind of goes together.
Those are all great questions. Socialization is huge. I don't care what your age is. Just take yourself, go to your house, close the blinds, turn off the television, disconnect the telephone, and sit there for 2 days and tell me how that has affected you. Not having anybody to talk to over a meal, not having anything to do, nowhere to go. Tell me how that affects you at age 40, and then compound that for your aging parent or your aging friend. And imagine, okay, but I go visit them once a week. But what about the other 6 days, 23 hours and 15 minutes that you weren't there? What are they doing? So yes, socialization is a huge factor for anybody. I mean, I don't care how old you are. So, at Adams Place, we have a ridiculously full calendar, and it doesn't matter if it's independent living, assisted living, or the healthcare center. There is always something going on. There are parties. I mean, this Sunday we're having our senior prom in independent living. So that's going to be a big social event. So we do, you're not going to be a good senior facility if you don't play bingo at least once a week. So
right.
Everybody's going to play bingo somewhere along the line. There are book clubs. There are lecture series. We bring in lecturers not only from outside of the community, but we also have a lot of our residents do what is called a Wisdom and Wonders series.
Cool.
And they're telling the stories of their lives, and they are fascinating. We do cooking demonstrations. We've got one of our cooks that comes out and does a cooking demonstration quarterly. We've got another cook that does, he's done a bourbon tasting, a wine tasting. Next month, he's going to bring in a non-working still and explain the process of aging whiskey. So we're all about education. We're all about social events. We have pizza parties every few months. So there's always something going on. As far as helping somebody to adapt when they move in, part of our ambassador program is a transitions team, and that is residents who have been with us for a while that kind of come up and circle around the new residents and make sure that they're not going to the dining room by themselves for the first week or so. There's nothing worse than walking into a room of 100 other people that are all staring at you wondering, who are you?
Yeah.
So we do a lot to help our new residents to transition in. We don't get it right every single time. But the majority of the time that we do, and when we do, it is a huge success.
I never thought about this until you started talking about all of this, what you're saying. But those who are moving into some type of residential living, assisted living, independent living, no matter where they're going, and this is what I never thought of, is that that generation that's making this move, they grew up with socialization being number one. I mean, they weren't texting each other and emailing each other year after year, day after day, and that just wasn't happening for this group.
I don't know what communities are going to look like in 25 years when
Great
we start putting
question.
people in that have had their noses buried in a phone or some other digital device their entire lives. But yes, this generation, they're the ones that they didn't have 6-foot privacy fences. They had open backyards, and they went next door to borrow a cup of sugar or 2 eggs or a stick of butter or whatever, and they met in the driveway, and their kids played together in the backyards. So they did have a tremendous amount of socialization.
Yeah, you bring up a good question. What is that retirement going to look like? Be it you retire and you move into independent living somewhere. What's that going to look like for those who are in their 20s and 30s today?
I will not be around to see that.
You won't be a salesperson then.
I will not be a salesperson then. I will say that technology in communities such as ours is changing. It is changing with the aging population. So all of these types of communities, we are becoming more digital, so that we've got the advantage of technology at our fingertips. I don't know from a person standpoint what that is really going to look like, because I mean, our kids today, and when I say kids, I'm talking 40-year-olds. I mean, so I'm 61. I can call a 40-year-old a kid, right?
That's right.
So we are losing the ability to relate eyeball to eyeball, and it is going to be interesting how things change over the years.
100% correct. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a real fast break, and then we'll be right back to ask more questions about making that move to somewhere like Adams Place whenever you're ready to make that move. Terri Deal is with us today. She's the executive director of Adams Place, and we will be right back.
Discover hidden treasures at the Garden Patch Thrift Shop on Spring Street in Murfreesboro. Whether you're searching for stylish clothing, sturdy furniture, or even large appliances, we've got them all at prices that you'll love. But here's the best part. 100% of your purchase supports Greenhouse Ministries, serving over 70 families a day. Your shopping dollars go straight back into the community, making a real impact. Shop smart and give back at the Garden Patch Thrift Shop on Spring Street in Murfreesboro.
When I eat healthy, I can eat at Demas's. When I want to eat unhealthy, I can eat at Demas's. If I'm in the mood for pasta, I go to Demas's. If I want steak, I go there. It does not matter what I'm in the mood for. This is Peter Demas. The only thing we don't have is fried food. So it's very easy when you want to take a group out and there's that veto power person who's like, I don't want this. Well, we usually will have something that they want because we have such variety on our menu. The only thing we don't have is fried food. Demas's Restaurant on Northwest Broad Street.
Hi, I'm Clarissa Smith, candidate for School Board Zone 4. Behind every great student is a dedicated teacher. To keep the best educators in our county, we must support them with a culture of respect and a safe and disciplined environment. When we empower our teachers, our children thrive. I'm Clarissa Smith, humbly asking you for your vote for School Board Zone 4.
Paid for by Friends of Clarissa Smith, School Board Zone 4. Clarissa Smith, Treasurer.
Listen up, Rutherford County. Join the Crypto Learning Center Tuesday, April 21st at 6 p.m. for barbecue and crypto. It's happening at the Holiday Inn Grand Ballroom in Murfreesboro. Enjoy a free barbecue dinner from Slick Pig while also learning about cryptocurrency. No pressure, no obligation. They're giving away over $500 in crypto, and the first 25 people to register and attend are guaranteed free crypto in hand. Seating is limited. Register now. GetHonestMoney.com. That's GetHonestMoney.com.
35 years. That's how long your family has trusted my family to care for your pets. Hi, this is Amanda from Animal City. From the entire team here at Animal City, we want to say thank you, Murfreesboro, for allowing us to be your local pet and pet product experts. We have grown up with you, and we're grateful. Stop by and celebrate 35 years of local love with us. Animal City, it's more than a store, it's our home. Animal City, 919 Northwest Broad Street in Murfreesboro.
You want your money to work hard for you? Who doesn't? South Central Bank has 2 CD specials that will help your money grow. South Central Bank has a 5-month CD with an annual percentage yield of 4.15% or a 25-month CD with an annual percentage yield of 3.8%. 2 great ways to put your money to work. You choose the term that works best for you. $500 minimum balance to obtain the APY. Stop at our location at 1602 West Northfield Boulevard in Georgetown Park today and take advantage of our 2 great rates. South Central Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
With us this morning in studio, we have Terri Deal, Executive Director of Adams Place right here in Murfreesboro on Memorial Boulevard. And I was thinking about technology, and I recently saw it was a video and an article about a memory care unit, and I think it was in another country. But what they did that was really cool, they set up a dining room and they made it look like it was an old train. And so they had these huge 75-inch TVs outside these fake windows of the dining car. Yeah. It was so neat, though. And you had these folks sitting in there eating their meal, thinking or feeling like they're sitting in a moving train on some journey through Switzerland or whatever. And they were able to look out the window and you see little villages that you pass by.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember where I saw it, but I did see something about that just recently. There are a lot of amazing advancements being taken, especially in some other countries that haven't quite made it to America yet. But I do think that a lot of times if we get out of the box of just providing care and figure out what it looks like to make something a home or be person-centered, I think that we can get out of that box and really get creative in what we do.
Yeah. And when I saw that, I thought, you don't have to put these in only memory care units.
Oh my gosh,
this would
no.
be cool in a restaurant. You know?
Oh, yeah.
It was neat looking.
Yeah.
And it looked real. That's the cool thing about technology.
Yes.
You know, graphics are so amazing today. You could do that, and it would look and almost feel real
That
for
you're
somebody.
there. Yeah.
And as we close this morning, because it's already 8:59, but meals, because we just mentioned that you guys have some great food out there.
We have incredible food. I tell everybody that moves in, please come with your stretchy pants. When we send our kids off to college, we expect the freshman 15. I joke and tell everybody, at least on the independent living side, expect the Adams Place 20. You're going to gain weight. That's really good. If you come in kind of skinny, it's not so good.
It's like the freshman 20, or what they call that?
Freshman 15.
Yes.
Yeah. So ours is the Adams Place 20. So it's really easy to eat a lot of good food and put on some weight. But we've got a lot of great exercise programs to help you keep that weight off.
Sounds great. And of course, that means mom and dad are going to stay healthy, because
Exactly.
they have food prepared for them.
Yes.
That's huge. Again, Terri Deal with us this morning from Adams Place. And Terri, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
You too.